something called the Mentorship Pathways Program, which aims to match students who start in our program as interns with faculty who have similar academic interests in the areas of healthcare disparities, medical education, and quality improvement and patient safety. We have several advocacy rotations. One of the things that I think really sets our program apart is that we have had a 25-year partnership with the Public Health Service, and we send one resident every month of the year to Tuba City, Arizona, and we pay for you to fly out there and have a car rental while you're there and really see a very different population than what you're seeing in Baltimore, Maryland. And those rotations are in both Tuba City, Arizona, as well as in Shiprock, New Mexico, living and working on the Navajo and Hopi Indian reservations. We also have an advocacy rotation with the National Office of the American Academy of Pediatrics in Washington, D.C., and that's a very popular elective for many of our residents. About 40% of our residents will pursue international elective rotations and during any given year. And these are paid for by the program and the Johns Hopkins Center for Global Health. So lots of opportunities, whether you're in the global health track or not, to perhaps have a clinical immersion rotation in several different countries and get a taste of healthcare systems in other countries. One of the things that I think is a highlight of our program is that the residents themselves are the authors of the chapters of the Harriet Lane Handbook. I think a lot of people know that the Harriet Lane Handbook is written at Johns Hopkins, but many people don't know that it's actually written by our residents, and it's re-edited and republished every 3 years. So that's really part of our leadership structure and a lot of the leadership development process that we have as part of our program. So we do have quite a strong focus on leadership development and graduated autonomy within the program. And a lot of that is through a formal curriculum with residents as educators, and a curriculum that is a horizontal thread and longitudinal throughout the 3 years of residency. We have quite a strong emphasis on diversity and inclusion within both our selection and interview process, but more importantly, within our curricular structure. We have a lot of programming related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, including a brand new Racism in Medicine series as part of our integrated noon conference schedule. Baltimore City is a really wonderful place to live. It's been rated one of the greatest cities to live in by millennials. And we have quite a diverse patient population with a lot of heterogeneity in the populations that you see, as Dr. Bradley mentioned, really is true of the entire Mid-Atlantic region. Lots of social and wellness events monthly. We have a resident-run pediatric wellness council, and they are very active in programming both for some of our retreats as well as social events throughout the year, which include a fall picnic, our annual dinner dance, which we call our pediatric prom, and many other social events that occur throughout the year. As far as curricular highlights, we have 6.5 elective months, so lots of time for individualized education. A noon conference series with, as I mentioned, a new series that's integrated into that called Racism in Medicine. We have, am I getting close, Jessica, to my time?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying not to interrupt. You're on a good flow, but yeah, you got a little less than a minute, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so morning report 3 times a week, chief rounds with our chief residents for interns, and lots of different options for your continuity clinic. So I'll leave it there, and you can read lots more information on the infographic there, but welcome you to check out some of our social media sites there on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you're more than welcome to contact any of us, including our program coordinator, Carly, for more information, and check out our website for more details about our various combined programs, as well as our categorical program. So thanks again for the invitation to speak to you all tonight, and best of luck to everyone in the match.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. My bad. Go ahead, Sydney Kimmel.
Hi, I'm Margarita Lorch. I'm one of the associate program directors at Sidney Kimmel, Nemours Alfred DuPont Hospital for Children, which is part of the Nemours Children's Health System. I think we have one of the longest names in all of the residency programs. On behalf of Dr. Seltz, our program director, as well as my associate program directors, Dr. Fox and Antela, are my co-program directors. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. So we are a medium to large size program located in Wilmington, Delaware. We have 22 categorical residents per year. We also have one child neurology resident that is with us for their first 2 years of residency, as well as one pediatric physical medicine and rehab resident per year. Additionally, we are closely associated with a medicine pediatrics program at Christiana Care. We are a freestanding children's hospital that is in an urban setting. In addition to rotating at our main hospital, DuPont, however, you also get a chance to rotate at Jefferson in Philadelphia, as well as Christiana, which is in Newark, Delaware, which allows you to have a lot of diversity, both clinically and sociodemographically amongst our patient population. Some of the highlights of our program in our curriculum, we do allow for a career selective block, which allows residents to explore sort of different career opportunities early on in their residency. We have a resident as teacher rotation. That is a 2-week block that occurs in the second year that is call free and allows residents to really hone their teaching skills. We feel that this is a lifelong teaching career, and so we allow you to spend time with some of our most dedicated educators, as well as spending time with the medical students and really working on those skills, both chalk talks, precepting, working on tailoring on the medical students' presentation. So it really allows you to work on those teaching skills as a second year as you enter into that senior role. As a PGY1, you would have 2 elective blocks, so you get early exposure to any type of subspecialty that you might be interested in pursuing. And we additionally have research electives available for residents to work on projects throughout the year. And it really allows for that opportunity to present at both regional and national conferences. Greater than half of each residency class ends up presenting at a national conference during the course of their residency. One big curricular development that we have going on is that we are planning to move to an X+Y curriculum beginning in the 2022 to 23 academic year. So that is something that we are currently in the process of finalizing, and we'll plan on starting in July of this upcoming academic year. Diversity has been a large focus of Nemours for a long time. And in the last year and a half, obviously, it's become something that's a huge push for us nationally. We have a diversity and inclusion noon conference curriculum that has been developed along with the chiefs and the residents over the past year and a half at this point. There's also a hospital-wide DRIVE initiative. DRIVE stands for Diversity, Anti-Racism, Inclusion, Value, and Equity. And this brings individuals from across the hospital in to try and improve Nemours' different contacts within the community, their anti-racism initiatives, and also providing support to both our patient population and our associates.
We got about a minute and a half, just so you know.
Okay. And also we have a visiting scholars program for students that are underrepresented in medicine. Our strengths for our program are most assuredly our residents, who have a very family-like feel to them. They are very close-knit, get together both inside and outside the hospital. And in addition, our faculty, who are dedicated to teaching, have a very close working relationship with our residency. About 50% of our residents do go on to pursue a fellowship. The remainder go on to primary care. We are located, as I said, in Wilmington, Delaware. We are in close proximity to Philadelphia, and about 50% of our residents choose to live in Philadelphia and about 50% in Wilmington. It puts us in a nice position to get to both cities, as well as the entire Northeast corridor from New York to DC, which are very accessible. We have access to mountains, to beaches, and a lot of fun outdoor activities. So there's a lot of social stuff to do as well. What's that?
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Is anyone from Marshall in here yet? I wasn't seeing them, but I just want to double check. Okay.
It's
If
a
you,
beautiful place. If you haven't been to Huntington, West Virginia, it's right on the Ohio River. It's a really nice, I did a review of a program there at one point. It's a great trip, lovely people, nice place to visit. And I'm sure they have a great program.
you want to get the presentation, Dr. Z? You seem to know.
Well, I don't, but I can read the infomercial info.
It's okay. We're gonna put the infographic up for everyone
Yeah.
else to read, and then we have more time. For
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay. So then you're up, Dr. Z. Sorry.
Dr. Z, you're up. Go ahead.
Now it's my turn, I guess. The University of Connecticut program and two associate program directors can chime in. We're in Hartford, Connecticut, largely thought to be a pass-through place halfway between New York and Boston. Indeed, half of our citizens root for the Red Sox and half for the Yankees. But we're also a destination. We have all of the cultural and gastronomic and recreational advantages of a larger city without some of the hassles you see in a larger city. And we have a medium-sized children's hospital with all of the exposures that you need to become the kind of pediatrician you'd like to be. And you can really feel your presence in a program that's just a little bit smaller. That being said, we're doing very well, about to enlarge with a new tower with 60 more beds in it on our front lawn. And we're looking forward to just continuing to thrive and expand. We have deliberately matched people to our program who have diverse backgrounds, including osteopathic, allopathic, and some international residents, because we think that diversity is good in many ways. And if we're interested in equity and exposure to various ways of approaching things, that's the way to do it. We have 4 main aims. 1, to have that broad education. 2, to teach people how to keep themselves well. 3, how to be strong advocates and work in the community. And if you come to our program, you will work in the community and you'll have a curriculum to go with it. And lastly, to be experts in quality and safety. Imposed on all of that, because it's not something just to be done in one spot, is our program in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll ask my colleagues to chime in then.
Sharon, would you like to speak as one of the co-chairs?
Oh my gosh, I'd love to. So our DEI committee meets monthly. We actually meet tomorrow, and we take on all sorts of activities. We are getting ready to have a table at the Hartford Pride event, which I'm super excited about. We are having a movie night coming up to show Motorcycle Diaries and inviting other residency programs within the UConn system. I'm really excited that a number of us are involved, not just in our residency, but university-wide to implement some DEI activities. Every year we have a huge evening event where we invite our residents, our fellows, our faculty. This last year we did macro skills for microaggressions, and we had speakers from our emergency medicine program, some of our faculty and own residents talking about their experiences and how to help everyone recognize and deal with those. So I'm super excited for that group and look forward to matching all sorts of fun and wonderful students who are on the call with us.
Just a heads up, UConn, you got about 2 minutes.
Okay, Chris, tell me about assessment and curriculum.
All right. So one of the things that I think is I want to highlight the most for our program is that we've created our pathways to be as individualized and flexible as possible. So we don't have any tracks in terms of applying to ahead of time. There's a lot of flexibility. In fact, we don't require people to declare their pathway until the end of their second year, which allows for a lot of flexibility. Every resident is given a certain number of discretionary rotation blocks during their first, second, and third year. That's 3, 4, and 5. And the residents get to choose if they want to start with their required subspecialties or if they want to jump right into some of their discretionary rotations that are individualized right off the bat. We have a very strong hospital and program in global health. We also have historically forever and ever and ever been very strong in advocacy and community service. And we have a REACH program, which stands for Resident Education and Advocacy and Community Health. And one of the other great things about having our program in Hartford is that we're in the capital city. And so we're right down the street from the Capitol building, and our residents are involved in legislative advocacy. We also have a lot of research, and a great majority of our residents do take research either in a research block or a longitudinal experience. We have a scholarly requirement where every resident is required to at least submit their scholarly activity to something outside, whether it's a journal or a conference outside of our rotation. We have a lot of benefits like free on-site parking right next door to the hospital, which is a wonderful plus. We also have 2 new curricula that we initiated this year, one in telemedicine and one in mental health and behavioral health. So those are new and revised.
Perfect timing. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Okay, Innova. Your turn.
Welcome. I'm Meredith Carter. I'm joined this evening by my fellow Associate Program Director, Patty C.O. Mayer. We're excited to have all of you guys here and tell you a little bit about our program. The Innova Children's Hospital Residency Program is a children's hospital within a larger hospital system. The Innova Health System includes five campuses across Northern Virginia. The Children's Hospital itself is actually a 216-bed hospital. Half of that is the NICU and half of that is everything else. We're a level 1 trauma center and a level 1 trauma center and a level 4 NICU. Although we're not university sponsored, we're actually a branch campus for the regional campus for UVA School of Medicine. The Innova campus services that. After graduation, about half of our residents go on to fellowship and about half of them go to primary care. Many of them stay in the Northern Virginia and general DC region. We have an incredibly diverse patient population, which is one of our huge strengths. In Fairfax County alone, which is the county that we sit in, and 182 languages are spoken in the homes of the students in Fairfax County Public Schools. That diversity is cultural, racial, ethnicity, socioeconomic. And is, I think, exemplified right now by the fact that we have the privilege to take care of a number of patients who are recent Afghani refugees. We are very resident focused. There are 2 fellowships, a PEM fellowship that has been around for many years. I don't remember exactly how many, and a PHM fellowship that actually is just starting this year. Our curriculum is, everybody's got the same requirements from ACGME. Some of the highlights of our curriculum are the fact that continuity clinics can either take place at the health systems pediatric clinic that serves as a safety net clinic in the Northern Virginia region, or at private practices, depending on the residents' preferences. The individualized educational curriculum that everyone is required to have, ours is very, very flexible. We do not have tracks. We basically walk residents through curriculum design towards the end of their first year of residency and use those tools to help them guide them through formulating their individualized curriculum. Our didactics take place during a weekly academic half day on Tuesday afternoons. That is a mixture of both lectures as well as interactive workshops and simulations. And now I will turn it over to my colleague.
Hi, I'm Patty C.O. Mayer. I'm the other APD, and I'm also a peds nephrologist. So as the infographic points out, about 50% of our residents go into fellowship, and one of my goals as a subspecialist is to help them match a great program. Because we don't have subspecialty fellows, our residents really get wonderful interactions with our attendings who've trained all over the country. And so we have a very successful fellowship match result list there. I'm also very interested in working with our residents on 2 other issues, including which are, I think, highlighted for good reason at all the programs discussed tonight: advocacy and also diversity. We've had a long-standing diversity and inclusion resident committee that probably started years ago as a place where people would gather and have potlucks and talk about cultural traditions and events, but it's really evolved, like many have discussed already, to talk about really difficult issues related to bias and racism in medicine. And so we're really proud of our residents for helping drive a lot of that change. It's actually led to quite a bit of change within our health system that has, really been spanned from changing the bathrooms on, to be all gender bathrooms, to having an escalation pathway when staff and learners and physicians experience bias from patients, to know where to turn to so that they know that the institution really stands behind them. I also want to point out a curriculum here that also has another catchy acronym, RISE, Realizing Inclusion, Systemic Equity. This is a simulation-based curriculum that's been a multidisciplinary effort that really uses video simulation to allow residents and learners to think about situations where we experience and transmit bias towards patients, where we might receive it from patients, and where we witness it amongst our colleagues. And the point of the curriculum is to have difficult discussions and get out, sort of, teach each other illness scripts really, and to talk through these, how do you confront these situations? Where do you turn to for resources? And we've presented this curriculum at multiple national meetings, and we're really proud of it. And 2 of our residents have been actively involved and are going to do some nice publishing based on it. I'll just close by saying we've got the greatest location. I moved here to raise my 3 kids, and I don't plan to leave. We're in the DMV. Some of our residents live in DC, some live in Virginia, some live in Maryland. We're close to the mountains and to the ocean. We're close to cities, museums, the Smithsonian, and we're also close to great public school systems that have high teacher vaccination rates. And so it's a great place to live and grow and thrive. So we're really excited for this new batch of PEDS residents coming up. You're joining a wonderful community. All these programs are fabulous. We all have similar themes because we all believe in a lot of the same things. So you can't go wrong. But please follow us on Instagram. We are only an Instagram only program because that's what our residents told us. They said Facebook is for old people. So we don't have a Facebook page, but please reach out to us if you have any questions, and good luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. So now we're going to do the question and answer. So if you have a question, you can say it or put it in the Zoom chat. Otherwise I can pull from Twitter as well. Okay, so we do have a question. It says, how does the diversity of your residency class represent that of the community you serve? Whoever wants to take it.
So I'll answer for Innova. So, we discuss this a lot because as Dr. Carter mentioned, we have 182 languages spoken. We would love to have a resident that spoke every language that every patient spoke, but that's kind of impossible. We do have a fair number of residents who've been internationally trained in the past. This year, we have had a little struggle with we had a really interesting match year that I think was affected by virtual interviewing. But what we're really focusing on is the number of underrepresented minority students in our cadre of residents. We have, I think, 4 this year, which is 4 this year in our first and second year classes, which is an increase, and we're really pleased with what those residents are bringing to our program. I think it is a really important question, and we do strive to represent the kids that we take care of. So it's a big focus of our program.
I'll add that for UConn, we agree, of course, because that is exactly the right question. And we know that we're all competing with the same residents from across the country. And we strive to have diversity in residents who are underrepresented in medicine. And there are other ways that we have diversity at our program as well, including from the LGBT community as well as religious diversity. And those don't always represent because they aren't NBME, ACGME sort of criteria. So that would be another way that we represent diversity.
To answer for DuPont, we also really strive to try and increase the diversity and the underrepresented in medicine candidates within our program. We currently stand at about 10% of our residents are URMs, and to try and increase that every year, we have our underrepresented in medicine scholars program. As I mentioned, the drive program through the hospital, we're really trying to start recruiting at a much younger level, actually trying to get more of the local middle schools and high schools with students interested in medicine as a career. And so we're really sort of working at that sort of grassroots level and work from the ground up. It is very important to us. In addition, we too represent not just from a racial diversity perspective, but from the LGBTQ community, as well as having several disabled residents as well.
I think for Johns Hopkins, I echo what a lot of my colleagues have said. I think being in the city of Baltimore, we have quite a large African-American community that we serve, as well as quite a large Latinx community in Baltimore. And so we very much recruit our residency class every year to be quite diverse and to try to have a minimum of 15% of the class, if not more. And we are always looking to increase that diversity each year so that it is very much reflective of the community that we serve, because we feel that that's really important, a really important aspect of continuing to serve the community here in East Baltimore and throughout the region.
Okay, thank you guys for those answers. We do have another question in the chat. It's how do you support your residents' scholarly and research interests?
I'm happy to chat about that since I'm already unmuted, Jessica, if that's okay. And kind of going along with the second question about research tracks, we have both residents who come into the program who do pursue a research track, either the integrated or the accelerated research pathway. But we certainly have, and many of them are physician scientists who come in with an MD, PhD. However, we have plenty of people in the program who have scholarly interests in research and other, both clinical basic science, as well as educational and quality improvement research. And the program really tries to help support getting those residents to national conferences, either to network or to present some of their work by funding a lot of those endeavors through a specific fund dedicated to resident scholarly opportunities and travel to national conferences. With our ARP and our IRP tracks, those are separately funded by the Department of Pediatrics, and I'm happy to talk more offline to anyone who's interested in those tracks specifically at Johns Hopkins. Most of those people who join those tracks are physician scientists who go on to fellowship pursuits and continuing in the vein of research and being clinician scientists. So again, happy to speak more offline about that. Feel free to reach out to us and contact us. But I think whether you are a physician scientist or someone who has research interests and just wants to pursue scholarly activities, our PSTP program that is School of Medicine wide really helps to provide some scaffolding for anyone interested in research, regardless of what type of research pursuit that might be.
Nice. I'll answer that for UConn. So for our residents, we have 3 research options. So students, if you've never done a project before, like come up with an idea and gone from I have an idea to I have my project done, we have a structured block where we take people through all the steps and little mini workshops and small groups with a variety of faculty. So at the end of their block, they have a protocol ready to submit to the IRB and rock and roll and do their project. We have individual mentored blocks where a resident will get together with one of the faculty. We have a master list of faculty who mentor our residents, and they can just spend a block working on their project. Some residents will do both during the course of their residency. And then we have a few residents who opt to do a longitudinal option. Well, you know how you have continuity clinic, you get a half day every week to do your continuity clinic. For residents on the longitudinal pathway, they get a half day during their pathway blocks. So not every block, but their pathway blocks to get an extra half day to work on their research projects. So between them, our residents are quite successful and go off to meetings, and hopefully they'll be able to go in person this spring. Got my fingers crossed.
So answer at DuPont, we also have a curriculum. It actually is integrated into our new conference where one of our physician scientists, he's the division director of general pediatrics and holds a PhD. He gives lectures regularly on sort of the nuts and bolts, the basics of starting a research project, getting an IRB submitted, sort of starts that process. We also have something called the Research Regatta, which is part of our weekly email that the chiefs send out, and any projects that are ongoing with faculty where they are looking for residents to become involved are listed in there. There's also an online database that is updated regularly that allows a resident, if they missed it in the Research Regatta or are looking for another project, they can go in, and any faculty member who's doing a project will have it entered in there and list what the topic is and what kind of help they're looking for with that, so the residents can find that. We do provide funding for residents who are presenting at conferences. If they're presenting their own research, we will pay for that as a program, and it's not taken out of your sort of CME money. And as I said, about 50% or more of each class do end up presenting at a regional or national conference during the course of their residency.
But Innova, I put a little bit in the chat box just to expand on that. We during intern year, as part of our academic half day, the interns go through a number of different curricula that address different areas of scholarly activity, including a foundations of research curriculum, a quality improvement curriculum, a residence as teachers curriculum, and evidence-based medicine goes throughout all 3 years. So those are kind of the those fall into the 4 domains of scholarly activity. All residents, in addition to going through that foundational curriculum, are required to complete at least one advanced project within one of those areas. For those who are going on to fellowship, that has to be research. For those who are planning to go into primary care or focus on other areas, they can do advanced projects within quality improvement, within teaching and education, and other areas of scholarly activity as well.
I can say the holistic review question is one that we've dealt with by having rank points and ranking scheme that sees how well the applicants match up with our aims. All programs and all disciplines have for 3 years now been required to specify in their web ads annual accreditation continuation, their aims of their program that make them unique. If those are our aims, then the applicants who have a documented history of matching up to those aims ought to be given more rank points and rank higher than those who aren't consistent, because you want to bring people in who are going to thrive and benefit from what you think is your strengths and where you're at. So I think that's the best way to get to holistic review.
Okay, thanks, guys. We can either continue to touch on that question, or there were a couple questions regarding international graduates. So let me see where they started.
I think with regard to the holistic review, I mean, obviously every program is going to address applications in a slightly different system. For us, that means reading every single application that comes through, and that takes time, which is why we always tell people when they submit their applications, this isn't like Amazon. The next day you're going to have a response one way or the other. Like, it's, takes time to go through hundreds and hundreds of applications in detail. So it, with that holistic review, takes, it's going to probably be at least a week or two before people start hearing responses back in terms of invitations. So I think that's an important thing for students to understand.
Somebody did answer in the chart regarding international medical graduates that one of the things that that we hope for a student who's coming as an international medical graduate is that they'll transition well. And so having some experience in the United States, both from just understanding the culture and how things work, but also in a medical setting, I think is helpful for you to better transition into one of our programs. And of course, we want everybody to be successful. So I do think that that would be something that would be helpful and that we would be looking for as well.
Okay. There's also a question, do you foresee any changes or new endeavors in the program within the next few years?
I think I mentioned already our individual curricular endeavors, our mental health curriculum, which is including some diversity, equity, and inclusion topics as well, sort of a separate but collateral, and then the telemedicine curriculum, which is something that we just started this year as well. Big picture, we are all adapting to the new milestones, which actually for you guys is a great thing because they are so much more clear and succinct. So we'll be changing all of our evaluations and our assessment tools to match those, and that's all programs.
I mentioned this in the chat briefly, but at Johns Hopkins, we have a few new curricular endeavors that we've started over the past year or so. One of those is a formal curriculum that is also integrated as kind of a horizontal thread throughout all 3 years in trauma-informed care and adverse childhood experiences. That includes interactions with standardized patients, learning to screen for ACEs in continuity clinic, and also integrating education about ACEs and trauma-informed care into our emergency medicine rotations, adolescent medicine, and other core inpatient rotations as well. As I mentioned earlier, we have a new racism medicine in our community series that gets integrated on a monthly basis into noon conference. And I anticipate as far as changes in the program that will continue to expand as we move forward. And then lastly, we've always had a mental health rotation, but we got feedback from our residents that they wanted that much earlier in their training so that they could really apply much of that knowledge to their care of patients in continuity clinic. So we are now moving the behavioral and mental health rotation progressively into the intern year to give people earlier exposure to many of those topics that are becoming really prevalent within our communities in pediatrics, especially now during the pandemic.
Okay, thank you for your answers. One last question, and then we'll probably be pulled back to the main room. What resources do your programs provide for residents in terms of step 3 preparation?
I would say that our focus is primarily on the pediatric board step curriculum. We would offer individualized support. I think that's sort of how we would go about offering that for step 3 if there was a resident who needed some additional study resources. We do encourage residents to take it as soon as possible after starting, because the farther away that you get from obstetrics, gynecology, medicine, the harder it is. So we do encourage, and we do have educational time that you're allotted in order to be able to take off of your clinical rotations to take the exam. But our bigger focus is on the prep for the PEDS exam, and probably we all have some board study materials and things. We do every Wednesday morning during your non-acute care rotations, our residents attend a board prep study, and then we offer a lot of resources that are available online.
I think most places are the same in terms of focus on the pediatric boards. Certainly we allow for reading electives that we have had residents take in the past if they were concerned about step 3, but generally people reserve that for 3rd year when having some focused board prep time, but that is also something that's integrated into our academic captain.
When Walt Tennyson was alive and working at the board, he did 2 studies looking at what influences the chances that you're going to pass one of these standard exams in the first try. And the only thing that came up significant in self-reported data was practicing questions, taking rotations, doing review books. If you did a review course, in addition to practicing questions regularly, there was some enhancement, but basically questions, questions, questions.
Thank you to all the programs that attended today and answering all those questions for us. It looks like we're about out of time, and it'll just pull us all back. If anyone has any last minute remarks or anything they would like to make, we have 2 minutes.
Good luck to everyone. I know this is a really exciting but stressful process. So, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, there are many, many, many wonderful programs all around the country, and everyone who's running them is sincerely interested in education. And I think you can't go wrong really wherever you end up, because there's wonderful qualities to each program.
I agree with that. And I'd also say that we recognize that it's a stressful time for all of you, and that many people had clerkships cut short and are worried about grading systems and the virtual environment. But chat with the people who are alumni of your medical schools and really leverage those resources in terms of getting a feel for programs and using your alumni network to learn about places that you're interested in. So best of luck to all of you, and I'm sure all of you will find a great place that is a wonderful fit for each of you.